The shuttle descended through the swirling mists of Alicia, its landing pads gently kissing the verdant undergrowth of the planet's surface. Dr. Samuel Hayes peered out the window, his eyes tracing the towering silhouettes of the Valerian forest. Beside him, Commander Jacob Ford adjusted his uniform and cleared his throat. "Remember, Sam, we're not just here to observe. We're here to engage, to learn." The Valerians are proud of their culture. Samuel nodded, feeling the familiar flutter of nerves that came with stepping into the unknown. "And you're sure about the customs briefing? It was rather unconventional." Jacob chuckled. "That's an understatement. But yes, everything's confirmed. Our liaison insisted it's crucial we respect their traditions to gain their trust." The hatch opened with a hiss, and the humid air of Alicia enveloped them. They were greeted by a delegation of tall, slender figures, their skin shimmering like the surface of a pearl. At the forefront was Zalera, their appointed liaison, who smiled warmly. "Welcome to Alicia, Dr. Hayes, Commander Ford." "I am Zalera," she said, her voice melodic, echoing slightly as if carried by the wind itself. "Thank you, Zalera." "We are honored to be here," Samuel replied, extending his hand only to remember that Valerians didn't shake hands. Instead, Zalera nodded gracefully, accepting his gesture in spirit. "Your journey must have been taxing. Please, let us make you comfortable. We have prepared a welcoming ceremony," Zalera explained as they walked towards a cluster of bioluminescent structures that seemed to pulse gently in the fading light. As they walked, Samuel tried to engage Zalera in conversation. "I've read much about your people's customs and history. I'm particularly intrigued by how your society values, interpersonal relationships." Zalera laughed softly, a sound like chimes in a gentle breeze. "Yes, our customs might be quite different from yours, but I hope you will participate with an open heart. Our traditions, especially the one concerning guests, are central to our cultural identity." Jacob leaned in, whispering, "That's the one about delighting all the women of the tribe, right?" "Yes," Zalera replied, having overheard. "It is a tradition of deep respect and connection. You will understand better as you experience it. It is not just physical. It is about understanding, about truly seeing someone." They arrived at the central pavilion where the ceremony would take place. The area was beautifully decorated with natural elements and soft lights. The air was filled with a sweet, calming fragrance. A group of Valerian women approached, each offering Samuel and Jacob a garland of flowers. "These are the women you will come to know deeply during your stay," Zalera explained. "Each interaction is designed to foster a profound bond." Samuel accepted the garland, his mind racing. "And Commander Ford, will he?" "Ah, I am merely here to observe and ensure the mission's smooth progression," Jacob interjected quickly, a hint of relief in his voice. "Sam's the main participant this time around." As night enveloped the world around them, the ceremony began with soft music. Valerians danced and sang, inviting Samuel to join. With each step and note, he felt his apprehension ebb, replaced by a budding curiosity about what the coming days would bring. Later, as the music faded, Samuel and Jacob sat by a fire, reflecting on the evening. "It's going to be an interesting assignment," Samuel mused, watching the flames dance. "Just remember why we're here," Jacob replied. "Understanding their ways is the first step towards building a lasting relationship between humans and Valerians." Samuel nodded, the weight of his role settling on his shoulders like a mantle. The night whispered around him, the sounds of the alien world both eerie and beautiful. As he looked up at the stars, scattered across the sky like spilled diamonds, he felt a profound sense of anticipation for what was to come. The next morning, Samuel woke to the soft rustle of leaves outside his window, a subtle reminder of the alien world he now inhabited. The Valerian architecture was organic, blending seamlessly with the forest, and his room felt more like a nest woven from living materials than any human construction. As he stretched and got dressed, there was a knock on his door. "Morning, Sam. You ready for today?" Jacob leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed, grinning. "As ready as I'll ever be, I suppose," Samuel replied with a wry smile, his stomach a little unsettled by the prospect of what lay ahead. Any idea what we're actually supposed to be doing today? Not really, Jacob admitted. But I did overhear Zalera talking about some sort of cultural briefing. You'll probably get a better explanation about that, guest duty tradition. Samuel rubbed his neck, still unsure how to approach the situation. I just want to make sure I don't offend anyone. It's a sensitive area. Jacob chuckled. You'll be fine. Just follow their lead, like in any other cultural exchange. They've been doing this for centuries. They're not expecting you to be a master of their ways on day one. As they walked through the village, Samuel tried to clear his mind, focusing on the beauty of the surroundings rather than his growing anxiety. The Valerians moved gracefully, their every gesture imbued with a sense of purpose and serenity that made him feel both out of place and captivated at the same time. Soon, they arrived at the council building, where Zalera was waiting. She greeted them with her usual calm demeanor, her presence as soothing as the soft glow of the sun filtering through the trees. Dr. Hayes, Commander Ford, I hope you had a restful night, Zalera said as she led them inside. Today, we will begin your integration into our society. This will involve learning the customs and traditions that define our way of life. I'm eager to learn, Samuel replied, his tone sincere, though his mind still lingered on the previous day's surprising revelation. Zalera must have sensed his apprehension because she gave him a reassuring smile. Our traditions might seem unusual to you, but they are a reflection of who we are as a people. One of the most important customs for guests is the expectation that you connect deeply with our women. Samuel nodded. I understand that this connection is more than just a physical act. But what exactly is expected of me? How should I approach it? Zalera motioned for them to sit down, and as they did, she explained, for us, intimacy is a form of communication. It's a way of understanding one another's emotions, desires, and thoughts on a deeper level. When we speak of delighting the women of the tribe, we do not refer only to physical pleasure. It is about creating a bond that transcends the surface. To delight a woman here means to make her feel seen, understood, and respected. Samuel glanced at Jacob, who raised an eyebrow, clearly intrigued by Zalera's explanation. So, how do I go about that? I mean, I've been in relationships, but this seems much more intentional, Samuel said, choosing his words carefully. Zalera nodded approvingly. It is indeed. The process starts slowly. Each woman you will meet has her own unique perspective and needs. You will first spend time talking with them, learning about their lives, their thoughts, their feelings. It is through conversation and connection that the physical aspect becomes meaningful. Rushing this would be seen as disrespectful. Samuel exhaled, feeling a bit more grounded. So, it's not just about physical attraction? Exactly, Zalera confirmed. In fact, physical interaction only comes after a significant emotional connection is established. In our culture, love and pleasure are intertwined with respect, understanding, and trust. It is through this connection that we truly delight one another. Jacob leaned back in his chair, arms crossed. That's a pretty different approach from what we're used to, Sam. But it sounds like it's more about emotional engagement than anything else. Samuel looked thoughtful. I suppose that makes sense. In human relationships, emotional intimacy is just as important as physical, but it's not always treated with the same level of importance. Here, it seems like it's the foundation of everything. Precisely, Zalera said, her eyes soft with approval. This is why we emphasize emotional connection first. It allows for a deeper, more fulfilling relationship, even if it's temporary. Samuel took a deep breath, letting Zalera's words sink in. Okay, I think I'm beginning to understand. But what happens if I fail? I don't want to let anyone down or disrespect your customs. You cannot fail, Dr. Hayes, Zalera assured him. The mere fact that you are open to learning and experiencing our ways is enough. The women will guide you as much as you will guide them. It is a mutual exchange, not a test. Relieved, Samuel smiled faintly. That takes some of the pressure off, at least. Jacob grinned. You've got this, Sam. Just take it one step at a time. As they left the council building, Zalera led them to an open clearing where several women were gathered, talking and laughing together. She gestured toward them, her smile inviting. These are the women you will spend time with over the coming days. Each has her own story, her own way of seeing the world. Today, you will begin with Lyra, Valaris said, pointing to a striking woman with flowing silver hair and deep violet eyes. She will teach you much about our culture. Lyra approached, her movements graceful, and she greeted Samuel with a soft touch on his arm. I've been looking forward to meeting you, Dr. Hayes. And I've been looking forward to learning from you, Samuel replied, his heart beating a little faster as he felt the weight of the moment. Jacob clapped him on the shoulder. Looks like you're up, Sam. Go show them what humans are made of. Samuel shot Jacob a playful glare, but turned back to Lyra with a sense of curiosity and resolve. Shall we begin? He asked, unsure of exactly what he was getting into but eager to learn. Lyra smiled and nodded, leading him toward a shaded grove. As they walked, she began telling him about her life, her people, and the deep emotional bonds that defined Valerian relationships. It was the beginning of a journey Samuel could never have anticipated, one where understanding, connection, and respect would shape every interaction in ways far deeper than he had ever imagined. Samuel followed Lyra into the shaded grove, where the light dappled through the leaves, casting a mosaic of shadows on the ground. Lyra gestured toward a smooth, flat stone that served as a seat and sat down gracefully, patting the spot beside her for Samuel. As we begin, Lyra started, her voice calm and inviting, I want you to feel at ease. We share our stories here, our truths. Tell me about your Earth, Samuel. Samuel took a deep breath, settling beside her. Well, Earth is diverse. Mountains, seas, deserts, forests. Each part has its own rhythm, its own life. My favorite place is the Rocky Mountains. They're massive, enduring, and when you stand at their base, you feel both small and connected. Lyra listened intently, her eyes reflecting a genuine curiosity. And what of your people, Samuel? How do you connect? We try, but often, we falter. We're wrapped up in our own lives, sometimes forgetting to look beyond, Samuel confessed, feeling the openness of the Valerian way easing his own walls. But when we do connect, truly connect, it's beautiful. Beautiful, Lyra repeated softly, nodding. Connection is the essence of existence for us. Now, let me share something of Valaris. She began describing her world, her people, their philosophy of life interwoven with the natural world around them, and how their relationships form the backbone of their society. As the conversation flowed, Samuel felt a connection building, an understanding deepening. It was not just the words but the pauses between them, the looks, the subtle smiles. Your world, it's woven so intricately with connections at its core. It's enlightening. Lyra's smile widened. It is, and now, Samuel, let us connect deeper. Stand with me. They stood, facing each other, and Lyra took his hands in hers. In Valaris, a touch speaks as loudly as words. Feel, don't just speak. Her hands were warm, and as she guided his hands to her face, allowing him to trace the contours, Samuel felt a rush of emotions, a surge of connectivity that transcended the physical. This is how we understand each other, Lyra explained. Through touch, we share emotions, thoughts, even memories. Close your eyes, Samuel. What do you feel? Samuel closed his eyes, his fingers memorizing the lines of her face, the smoothness of her skin. I feel openness and something like peace. Good, Lyra murmured. Now, what do you wish to share with me? Samuel paused, then spoke honestly, gratitude, and a bit of awe. Then let that be your touch, Lyra said, and Samuel understood. He adjusted his touch, gentle, appreciative, and he felt Lyra respond, a soft sigh escaping her lips. They sat back down, still holding hands. Each woman you meet will teach you different aspects of connection, Lyra continued. With some, it will be through music, with others, art or dance. Each connection unique, each touch meaningful. Samuel nodded, absorbing her words. And the ultimate goal? Is it always emotional, or does it? It can be physical, but only if the emotional connection is strong, true. It's never just physical, Samuel. It's always more, Lyra answered earnestly. Just then, Jacob approached them, having observed from a distance. Sam, There's a call from the command. You need to check in. Of course, Samuel said, standing. He turned to Lyra. Thank you, Lyra. This has been more educational than I expected. Lyra stood as well, a serene smile on her face. It is just the beginning, Samuel. We will meet again. As Samuel walked away with Jacob, the latter gave him a curious look. Well, how was it? Surprising. Not at all what I expected. There's a depth to it, Jacob. It's about understanding, really seeing someone, Samuel explained, his mind racing with new insights. Jacob nodded, a slight grin on his face. Sounds like you're getting the hang of it. Just remember, it's all part of the mission. Understanding their ways, it's how we build this relationship. Samuel looked back at Lyra, who was watching them leave, her expression one of peaceful contentment. Yeah, he said, a newfound respect for the Valerian customs warming his thoughts. It's definitely more than I bargained for. As they returned to the main building, Samuel felt a shift within him. A shift towards a deeper, more profound understanding of connection, not just with the Valerians, but with the very essence of interpersonal relationships. This first encounter, though initially daunting, had opened a door to a world he was now eager to explore. The days that followed were a journey through the varied and vibrant personalities of the Valerian women. Each interaction, orchestrated by Zalera, was uniquely designed to broaden Samuel's understanding of their ways and deepen the emotional bonds necessary for true connection. As he met with more women from the tribe, his approach evolved, becoming more intuitive and responsive to the nuances of each encounter. One sunny afternoon, Samuel was scheduled to meet with Mira, a Valerian known for her artistic talents. He found her outside her dwelling, a structure beautifully integrated into the surrounding flora, painting on a canvas that reflected the vivid colors of the Elysian landscape. Dr. Hayes, Mira greeted him with a warm smile, her eyes twinkling. I hear you've been learning much about us. Are you ready to learn through art today? I think so, Samuel replied, intrigued by the setup. I'm not much of an artist, though. That's perfectly fine, Mira assured him, handing him a brush. Art here isn't just about skill. It's about expression and connection. Today, you will help me finish this painting. Through it, I hope to connect with you on a new level. As they painted together, Mira guided his strokes, her hands occasionally covering his, directing his movements in a dance of brush and color. Each color represents a feeling, a thought. Tell me, Samuel, what feeling does this blue evoke for you? Samuel looked at the deep, serene blue, letting his mind wander. Calmness, like the ocean on a quiet day. Good, Mira nodded, adding a stroke of blue to the canvas. For me, it represents introspection. Now, blend it here with this gold. Let's see what new emotion we can create. The session continued, with each color choice sparking a conversation about emotions, memories, and philosophies. Samuel found himself opening up more than he had anticipated, discussing his fears, hopes, and dreams. In turn, Mira shared her own, her voice soft yet passionate. Art is a dialogue, Mira explained as they stepped back to admire their work. Look at our painting. Do you see how your emotions have shaped it? How they intertwine with mine? Samuel studied the canvas, seeing the interplay of colors, the way they merged and contrasted. It's like a visual conversation, he remarked, genuinely impressed by the outcome and the depth of the interaction. Yes, exactly. Myra's face lit up with satisfaction. Through art, we've connected, and now we understand each other a bit better, don't we? We do, Samuel agreed, feeling a sense of accomplishment and connection that was different yet as profound as his other experiences with the Valerian women. Later that day, Samuel met with Jacob at a local cafe to discuss his progress. Over cups of a fragrant, local beverage, they exchanged observations and insights. Jacob leaned in, his expression curious. So, art is a form of connection, huh? That's new. How do you feel it compared to your other encounters? It's different, Samuel pondered, stirring his drink thoughtfully. Each woman brings a new dimension to what connection can mean. With Lyra, it was about touch and emotional presence. With Mira, it was more about shared creativity and understanding through expression. And you think this will help us in our mission? Jacob asked, always the pragmatist. I do, Samuel affirmed. Understanding these connections, experiencing them, it changes how you interact with everyone, not just the women. It's changing me. Jacob nodded, looking impressed. Seems like you're really getting into the spirit of things, Sam. Keep this up, and you'll not only fulfill our mission objectives, but you might also bring back some unique insights into human-Valerian relations. That's the plan, Samuel smiled, his mind already on the next meeting. Tomorrow, I'm scheduled to meet with Alina. She's a philosopher. I expect it will be quite the intellectual challenge. Sounds like you're ready for whatever comes your way, Jacob chuckled, clapping Samuel on the back as they left the cafe. As the Elysian sun set, casting long shadows and bathing the village in a golden light, Samuel felt a profound sense of gratitude for the journey he was on. Each day brought new lessons, each woman a new perspective, enriching his understanding of not just the Valerian culture, but of connection and humanity itself. As the days passed on Alicia, Samuel's routine evolved into a series of profound encounters, each teaching him something unique about Valerian culture and, inadvertently, about himself. On a particularly introspective afternoon, he found himself walking alongside Commander Jacob Ford, reflecting on his experiences so far. Jacob, I've been thinking, Samuel began, his voice thoughtful as they strolled through a verdant path that wound its way around a gentle stream. These practices, the depth of connection the Valerians have, it's something else. It makes me wonder about our own ways back on Earth. Jacob, hands clasped behind his back, nodded slowly. It's a stark contrast, isn't it? There's something about their directness, their emotional honesty that's quite refreshing. Yes, exactly, Samuel agreed. Back home, we often hide behind small talk, never really saying what we mean, never truly connecting. Here, every interaction demands openness, a real presence. It's challenging but incredibly rewarding. They paused as the path took them to a small bridge overlooking the stream. The water below glistened under the Elysian sun, a perfect mirror to the sky above. I've noticed changes in you, Sam, Jacob remarked, leaning on the railing. You seem more grounded, more at peace. Samuel chuckled softly, looking down at the water. Maybe I am. It's hard not to be changed by this place. Every woman I meet, every conversation we have, it peels back layers I didn't even know I had. That's the power of true connection, isn't it? Jacob mused. It's not just about understanding them. It's about understanding yourself. Indeed, Samuel replied. Tomorrow, I meet with Verana. She's tasked with teaching me about Valerian history. I'm told it's quite a ceremonial experience, involving ancient traditions and relics. Jacob raised an eyebrow, intrigued. Sounds fascinating. History here is lived, not just learned. I'd love to join you if that's all right. Of course, I think your presence would be appreciated, Samuel said, pleased at the idea. The more we both understand, the better we can bridge our worlds. The next day, Samuel and Jacob met with Verana at the Historical Archive, a building that seemed to grow out of the ground itself, its walls covered with a tapestry of flowering vines. Verana, a stately woman with eyes like polished jet, greeted them warmly. Welcome, Dr. Hayes, Commander Ford. Today, you will partake in the Valerian history weave, she announced, her voice echoing slightly in the open space of the archive. A history weave? Jacob asked, curiosity piqued. Yes, Verana explained, as she led them to a large, circular room where intricate patterns were etched into the floor. Our history is not just recorded. It is woven into the very fabric of our society. These patterns you see are more than art. They are stories, lessons, and laws of our people. She handed Samuel a small, metallic device. This will allow you to interact with the weave. As you move it over the patterns, our history will come alive for you. Listen, watch, and feel. Samuel hesitated for a moment, then began to trace the patterns as instructed. The device vibrated gently in his hand, and holographic images sprang up around them, displaying scenes of Valerian life, battles, celebrations, and innovations. As you witness our past, you connect with us on the deepest level, Verana said, watching them intently. Our joys, our struggles, They are now yours to understand. Samuel and Jacob spent the afternoon immersed in Valerian history, each hologram telling a story of triumph, tragedy, or discovery. They spoke little, absorbing everything, the silence between them filled with the weight of newfound knowledge. After the session, as they walked back to their quarters, Jacob was the first to break the silence. That was more intense than I expected. Samuel nodded in agreement. It's like living through their history, not just learning it. Makes you think about how we record our own, doesn't it? It does, Jacob replied. Maybe there's something to be learned there, about how to truly preserve our experiences for future generations. As they reached their quarters, Samuel felt a deep sense of gratitude for the journey he was on and the friendship he shared with Jacob. Tomorrow's another day, another learning, he said, a smile tugging at the corners of his mouth. Jacob clapped him on the shoulder, returning the smile. And we'll be here to see it together, whatever comes our way. Their path had taken them from strangers to colleagues to participants in a shared journey of discovery, one that taught them not just about Valerian culture, but about the possibilities that lay in truly connecting with others, regardless of the vastness of space between worlds. As the Valerian Festival of Moons approached, the entire village was abuzz with excitement and preparation. This annual event was one of the most significant in Valerian culture, celebrating the alignment of Alicia's 3 moons, a symbol of unity and harmony. For Samuel and Jacob, it was an opportunity to experience Valerian society at its most vibrant and communal. Early in the morning, Zalera approached them with a warm smile, her eyes reflecting the festive lights that had been strung up between the trees. Dr. Hayes, Commander Ford, today is a special day. You are both invited to participate fully in the Festival of Moons. It is a time when we set aside our daily tasks and come together to celebrate, reflect, and connect. We're honored to be a part of this, Zalera, Samuel replied, his voice tinged with excitement. Yes, thank you, Jacob added. We've seen the preparations going on all week. It looks like it's going to be incredible. Zalera nodded, her expression proud. It is a time of joy and deep spiritual significance for us. Tonight, you will both join in the moon dance, a tradition that is central to the festival. Samuel raised his eyebrows, intrigued. A dance? I hope it doesn't require any special skills. Zalera laughed lightly. No special skills needed, just an open heart and a willingness to be part of the flow. The dance is a symbol of the moon's journey across the sky, reflecting our own life paths. As evening fell, the village square was transformed into a spectacle of light and color. Lanterns floated gently in the air, tethered by invisible strings, and the ground was covered with petals of luminescent flowers. The Valerians, dressed in their ceremonial attire, shimmered like the night sky itself. Samuel and Jacob were given robes that glowed softly under the moonlight. As they donned their attire, Samuel felt a sense of belonging, of being part of something larger than himself. The festival began with Zalera leading a chant, her voice echoing through the night. Soon, others joined in, their voices harmonizing in a haunting melody that seemed to resonate with the very soul of the planet. Come, it is time for the moon dance. Zalera beckoned them into the center of the square where Valerians were gathering in a large circle. The dance started slowly, the participants moving in a rhythm that mimicked the celestial dance of the moons overhead. Samuel and Jacob found themselves swept along by the flow of bodies, the steps surprisingly easy to follow. The movement was circular, each step, each turn symbolizing the cycles of life and nature. As they danced, Samuel felt a connection not only to the people around him, but also to the universe itself. The barriers between them seemed to dissolve, leaving a sense of unity and peace. After the dance, the festival continued with feasting and storytelling. Samuel and Jacob were invited to share stories of Earth, which they did, their tales of distant lands and cultures captivating their Valerian audience. Later, sitting with Jacob at the edge of the square, Samuel reflected on the evening. I've never felt anything like this before. It's like being part of a living, breathing world that's so in tune with itself. Jacob nodded, his face lit by the soft glow of the lanterns. It's a beautiful thing to witness. Makes you realize how interconnected everything is, doesn't it? It does, Samuel agreed. And to think, We might bring some of this understanding back with us to Earth. Maybe teach our people a thing or two about connection and unity. That's the dream, isn't it? Jacob said, looking up at the moons. To learn, to bring back, to improve, not just for ourselves, but for everyone. As the festival wound down, and the moons continued their silent vigil overhead, Samuel and Jacob walked back to their quarters, their minds full of new experiences and insights. The Festival of Moons had not only offered them a glimpse into Valarian culture at its most profound, but had also deepened their appreciation for the power of community and the beauty of a shared purpose. In the quiet of the night, as Alicia slept under the watchful eyes of its moons, both men knew they would carry this night with them long after their mission ended. It was a reminder of what could be achieved when hearts and minds moved together in harmony. The morning after the Festival of Moons, Samuel and Jacob met for breakfast in the communal dining area, still abuzz with the reflections of the previous night's celebrations. The festival had not only provided an insight into Valarian culture, but also unexpectedly began to alter the way the Valarians viewed their own traditions. Sam, did you notice how some of the younger Valarians were asking about Earth's customs yesterday? Jacob asked as he passed a bowl of fruit to Samuel. Yes, it was surprising. They seemed really interested in how we manage social bonds and community gatherings, Samuel replied, peeling a bright blue fruit that tasted faintly of peaches and almonds. It's more than interest, I think, Jacob said thoughtfully. I feel like our presence here is starting to influence them. Zalara mentioned that the council is considering integrating some form of Earth-style dialogues into their educational syllabus. That's quite the impact, Samuel mused, taking a bite of his fruit. We came here to learn, but it seems we're teaching as well. Their conversation was interrupted by the arrival of Zalara, who joined them with a graceful nod. Dr. Hayes, Commander Ford, good morning. I hope you find the morning as refreshing as the festival. We do, thank you, Zalara, Jacob responded. We were just discussing the curiosity some of your people have about Earth. It seems the exchange of culture goes both ways. Zalara smiled, her eyes bright with enthusiasm. Indeed, it does. This is a rare and valuable occurrence for us. The Council has observed your interactions and the mutual respect displayed. We are intrigued by the concept of your roundtable discussions, where different viewpoints are shared openly. Samuel leaned in, interested. It's a way to foster understanding and innovation. Everyone has a voice, and every voice is considered. It's foundational for some of our most productive gatherings. Would you be willing to demonstrate this method? Perhaps host a session with some of our leaders and citizens? Zalara asked, the proposal clear in her tone. We'd be honored, Samuel answered, excited by the opportunity. It could be a beneficial experience for all parties involved. Excellent, Zalara said. I will arrange for it to take place tomorrow. It will give us a chance to discuss various aspects of our cultures more deeply. The next day, Samuel and Jacob prepared for the roundtable discussion. They set up in one of the larger communal buildings, arranging chairs in a circle to emphasize the non-hierarchical nature of the meeting. As Valarians gathered, filling the circle, the air buzzed with anticipation. Welcome, everyone, Samuel began, once all were seated. Today, we're going to try something a little different. This is a roundtable discussion, a form of dialogue we use on Earth to explore diverse perspectives and foster mutual understanding. Jacob continued, the idea is simple. We'll introduce a topic, and then anyone who wishes to speak can do so. There's no order, and all views are respected equally. The first topic was about community roles, and soon, Valarians and humans alike were sharing their thoughts. The discussion was lively, with many Valarians expressing appreciation for the format. This method allows for a more organic flow of ideas, one Valarian elder noted. It's quite liberating. As the session concluded, Zalara approached Samuel and Jacob. That was most enlightening. I believe this could be the beginning of a new tradition for us, enhancing how we conduct our communal interactions. Samuel smiled, pleased with the outcome. It's been a privilege to share this with you. We've learned so much from your customs as well. As they walked back to their quarters, Jacob looked thoughtful. Do you think we're changing things too much here, Sam? I don't know, Samuel admitted, but I think any change is mutual. We're not imposing, we're sharing, and they seem eager to learn, just as we are. That evening, as they watched the sun set over the alien landscape, both men contemplated the unexpected role they had come to play on Alicia. Not just as learners, but as catalysts for change, blending two cultures in ways that were subtle yet profound. The impact of their mission was unfolding in ways they had never anticipated, hinting at a future where human and Valarian societies might not just coexist but enrich each other beyond measure. As the time for Samuel and Jacob's departure from Alicia drew near, a palpable sense of nostalgia mixed with accomplishment filled the air. Their last day was marked by a farewell gathering organized by the Valarians, a testament to the deep bonds that had formed over the weeks. The morning was crisp, the sky a clear azure, as they walked towards the central pavilion where the gathering was to take place. Zalera met them along the path, her expression bittersweet. "Dr. Hayes, Commander Ford, this is a day of mixed emotions for us," Zalera began, her voice steady but tinged with sadness. "We are saddened by your departure, yet we are grateful for the growth and understanding that have flourished among us." "We feel the same, Zalera," Samuel replied, his heart heavy. "This experience, these connections, they've changed us in ways we couldn't have imagined." Jacob nodded in agreement. "We came here as ambassadors, but we're leaving as friends and hopefully as better humans." At the pavilion, the Valarians had gathered in large numbers, each face familiar and dear to Samuel and Jacob by now. The community had prepared a series of speeches, gifts, and performances in honor of their departure. One of the tribal elders stepped forward, his voice echoing softly across the crowd. "Samuel, Jacob, you arrived as guests from a distant world, but you will leave as part of our community. The lessons we have shared will resonate through Valaris for generations." Samuel took a deep breath before responding, feeling the weight of the moment. "Thank you for opening your hearts and your homes to us. We will carry your stories, your customs, and your spirits back with us to Earth, sharing them and ensuring that this is just the beginning of our shared journey." Jacob, usually more reserved, added, "And we will strive to integrate what we have learned here into our own cultures." The roundtable discussions, the deep connections, the respect for each other's voices, these are gifts we will treasure and propagate. The farewell continued with a display of Valarian music and dance, an art form that Samuel and Jacob had grown to appreciate profoundly. The music, vibrant and filled with complex layers, seemed to capture the essence of their entire experience, unique, transformative, and deeply moving. After the performances, Zalera presented them with a gift, a piece of Valarian art, co-created by all the women Samuel had connected with. "Each stroke in this painting represents a moment you shared with us, a memory that now binds us across the stars," she explained. Samuel was touched, his eyes scanning the intricate details of the painting. "This is beautiful. It's going home with us and will hang in a place of honor. Every time we look at it, we'll remember our time here and the friends we've made." As the sun began to set, casting long shadows and bathing the pavilion in golden hues, the Valarians sang a farewell song. Its melody was haunting, a sound that Samuel and Jacob knew would echo in their minds long after they had left. Walking back to their quarters for the last time, the two men were silent, each lost in thought. Finally, Jacob spoke. "You think we'll ever come back here, Sam?" "I hope so," Samuel responded, his voice soft but firm. "But even if we don't, we've started something that will continue to grow. We've planted seeds here, Jacob, and we'll nurture them from afar." The next morning, as they boarded their shuttle, the Valarians gathered to see them off, their faces a mix of sadness and gratitude. Samuel looked out the window, his hand pressed against the glass, as Zalera and the others waved. "Goodbye, and thank you," he whispered, though they couldn't hear him. As the shuttle ascended, Samuel and Jacob watched until Valaris was a mere speck against the vastness of space, a beautiful, unforgettable part of their lives now etched into their very beings. Back on Earth, their mission would be reported, discussed, and analyzed. But for Samuel and Jacob, it was the personal transformations, the unseen shifts in their perspectives, that would define the true success of their journey. In the end, their time on Alicia had offered more than just a cultural exchange. It had sparked a profound exploration of what it meant to connect, to truly see one another, promising a future where such connections could bridge worlds.